the one who is transformed into the supreme reliable guide, being motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, the Sugata, and the protector. To you I make prostrations. So this has, first to give you a very generic understanding of the overview of the text. It says that the one who is transformed into the supreme reliable guide, right? Just keep in mind that Buddha Shakyamuni, the Prince Siddhartha, he became the supremely reliable guide, supreme reliable guide. Keep that in mind. This is the main thesis. He's transformed, or he became a supremely reliable guide. This is the main thesis. How he became a supremely reliable guide? He became or transformed has the connotation that he was not a supremely reliable guide before. Transformed has a connotation that earlier he was as ordinary as what we are today, right? And then eventually he was transformed. He became is the connotation that there was the earlier phase, the phase of ordinariness. Okay, so he's not to be seen like a God, right? A creator, right from the beginning, spotless, clean, with no defilements, just there. And how do you know it exists? I have no answer. So not like that. He was as ordinary as what we are today. And then he slowly became the fully enlightened being. He became the reliable being, right? So this is the beauty and the strength of the Buddha's teaching. Saying that we all can do that. It's not that we put so much effort in the spiritual practice. Then finally, what is the incentive? What is the gift for you? Is to have a meeting with the God, or meeting with the communion with the God. No, this is not the idea. Here, with your effort, you will become the Buddha yourself. You will become the Buddha yourself. Because look at Prince Siddhartha, how he became a Buddha, how he became the fully enlightened one, fully awakened one. Then your question will be, first you will be inspired. Oh, if Prince Siddhartha, an ordinary young prince, eventually he became a fully reliable guide, awakened one, I can also become one like him. Why not? Then the question arises, how? How will you become one like him? That you will have the maximum happiness yourself, that you are freed from all miseries yourself, and that you are able to guide others towards this total freedom and total happiness. How can I do that? Okay, for that, you just learn from how this Prince Siddhartha went through. How did Prince Siddhartha, how did he do? How did he manage to do that? Okay, so it says that the one who is transformed into the supreme reliable guide, how? The answer is given, being motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. Initially, Prince Siddhartha was motivated by the great compassion, altruism. If you look at the episodes, Buddha episodes, how many of you have watched the Buddha episodes? Good. Okay, the Buddha episodes, you must watch them. To make what this stanza makes sense, you must read the Buddha Shakyamuni's episode, the TV serial. You must watch that. Initially, he was in the palace. He was in the palace with all these luxuries. And then while in the palace with the luxuries, he saw so much miseries, wars, people dying in wars, and the miseries going through, all the commoners going through miseries. Then seeing these miseries, then he was motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. So this is how he started. He was born as a prince, and then seeing the miseries, that motivated him to work for the sentient beings, right? Then what did he do? Eventually he renounced his princehood. He renounced the royal palace. For what? Oh, the royal palace is just a hopeless place. If I'm just a beggar, I'll be happy. No, this is not what motivated. In search of the path to free other sentient beings. That is the motivation. So it says, being motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. This is the initial trigger. This is the initial trigger. Being motivated by altruism to benefit other sentient beings. Then what did he do? He went in search of the true path of the happiness. For that, he met with the two teachers, one after the other. The first teacher, I don't remember the name, Alamkar something. Anyone who remembers the name? Alamkar something. Yeah. The first teacher happened to have reached very advanced level of samadhi. Then the Buddha Shakyamuni, the Prince Siddhartha, he sought the guidance of this teacher, and then he just accomplished the level of the teacher within a very short period of time. He accomplished the same level of the samadhi. The Prince Siddhartha, he accomplished the same level of samadhi as that teacher. And then he was asking for more instructions. And the teacher very honestly acknowledged that you have accomplished what exactly I have accomplished. I have nothing new to share. And then the Buddha said, okay, if this is what the path, then I have still not found the path. Because this path which I've realized today from you does not have the capacity to eliminate all the miseries. Then he left the place in search of another teacher. Then he found the other teacher. I think the second one is Udreka. He found the second teacher. The name, I'm not too sure. Udreka is the first or the Alamkar is the first one. I'm not too sure. He's met with the second teacher. And the second teacher happened to have achieved even subtler level of samadhi. Much deeper level of samadhi, which is known as the peak of samsara. Peak of samsara, meaning there's a samadhi, there are several levels. Say the samadhi of the four concentrations, then the infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, or the voidness, and the peak of samsara. Okay, this little technical thing. This again, if you want me to go through this, we will need another 3 days for that. Okay, so I'll not go too much. Just to tell you that the second teacher has gone to the maximum samadhi which the mundane samsaric beings can achieve, which is known as the samadhi of peak of samsara. And the Prince Siddhartha again was trained under this teacher, and very soon he accomplished that. And again he asked for more teachings, and the teacher said, no, I have nothing more. You have accomplished everything which I already achieved in such a short time. And then the teacher said to them, and there is no point in you going elsewhere. And you are already very accomplished. And why don't you stay with me? And then my teachers are also your teachers. My students are also your students. So we can just just alternate teaching the students and helping the students. Then Prince Siddhartha, he said that no, this is not my goal. Simply to have students is not my goal. My goal is to seek the final path, which is the solution to all the miseries. And with this path, I'm still yet to get this solution. Then he left. And then he said for 6 years, the austerity in meditation, 6 years meditation. So there he found the path, right? Okay. So after motivated by great compassion, he left the palace. Motivated by great compassion for what? Motivated by great compassion. This is how everything started. Then what for did he go out? What for? To look for the path. The path which he was to teach to the sentient beings. So what is the second one? The teacher. Teacher meaning the teacher to teach the path to the sentient beings, that the sentient beings will be liberated from suffering. Number 2, the teacher. Okay, once you have found the path, once you have got the medicine, How do we know that this medicine works? Any idea? Once you get the medicine, somebody gives you a medicine, or you are suffering from tuberculosis, and your family members also suffer from tuberculosis. So this is medicine. So if you get this medicine, you love your family members so much, then what will you do? How would you test this medicine? Exactly. Test it on yourself, right? So this the path to see the emptiness, the reality, ultimate reality of the emptiness. So this is the path. Then he just practiced it on himself to see whether it works. Then what happened? It really worked. Magic. Magic how? All his miseries disappeared, and miseries are replaced by incredible bliss and happiness, eternal happiness, right? So Sugata is the one who has gone to the bliss. So because of this experimentation of the path which he was to teach to the sentient beings, experimenting that, he experienced the Sugata himself. Right? So with this experience of the Sugata, then what is his job? Then to go to teach it and protect the sentient beings by showing the path, by giving the medicine, protect the sentient beings. So this is how he became the protector. Right? Protector. Okay. So if somebody has gone through this path, say initially motivated by altruism and great compassion, went in search of the path to be taught to all the sentient beings, and then experimenting it and experiencing the great eternal happiness and bliss for yourself, and then going to protect the sentient beings, what is that person like? Is that person, would you qualify that person as a reliable guide or so-so guide? Is a reliable guide. So with these 4 points, from this we can discern that Prince Siddhartha, he became a reliable guide. Right? So this is the gist. Now Acharya Dharmakirti, this is the explicit understanding. From this he could see the implicit inside also. Implicit understanding. What is implicit understanding? Implicit understanding is the reverse process. Not from the altruism. So what is the forward process? Forward process of seeing the reliable guide. Initially he was driven by altruism. Then he became the teacher. And then he experimented that, and then he became the Sugata. Then he became the protector. This is the forward process. Then Acharya Dharmakirti, he could see also see the reverse process. Reverse process meaning protector, Sugata, the teacher, and altruism, the reverse process. Right? How? Okay, so say, there's one teacher known as Buddha Shakyamuni, not as a Prince Siddhartha. Now going from the result to the cause. So the explicit understanding is from the cause to the result. How this reliable guide started as a Prince Siddhartha, young Prince Siddhartha, right? And then slowly becoming the reliable guide, Buddha Shakyamuni. The reverse process is from the result to the cause. There's a great teacher known as Buddha Shakyamuni. So this is how we started. How come that he is such a knowledgeable? How come that he is such a reliable guide? How come? Look at his teachings. Not as, someone glowing with light and so forth. Look at his teachings. What does he teach? He teaches the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths. And this is how he protects the sentient beings? Yes. Right? Okay. So, how do we know that? How is it possible that he is able to give this very thorough and very subtle teaching on the Four Noble Truths, which was never taught before by any other teacher on this earth? How come he is able to teach that? Because he experienced that himself. Sugata. From his protecting the sentient beings, or from him being the protector of the sentient beings by giving the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, from there you could infer that this teacher had experienced the Sugata, experienced the great bliss. the bliss of freedom from all miseries. Experience. Okay, that's amazing. So how come that he's able to experience that Sugata? Because it was not just random, or it was not that since time immemorial he was always the Sugata. No. Before that, he put effort in search of this path. He put effort in search of this path to be taught to the sentient beings, to be taught the teacher. Right? So what made him so motivated to look for this path? Because he was moved by great compassion. Without compassion, the person will not be daring to look for such a path. Like 6 years in solitude and under austerity and so forth. How can someone just sacrifice like that? You are saying it? Okay, now with this, I will repeat what I said so far. So this verse of salutation, Acharya Dharmakirti, when he read it, he saw two main messages there. One is the explicit message, and the other is implicit message. Explicit message is how this Prince Siddhartha became Buddha Shakyamuni by following the 4 steps, in which is known as the forward order. Forward in what sense? The way the sequence was laid by Acharya Dignaga. What is the sequence? Altruism, teacher, Sugata, protector. Right? So through this, then we infer that this being, Buddha Shakyamuni, he's the reliable guide for these 4 reasons. So you prove the validity of him being the teacher through his great compassion. Once you establish him being a teacher of the ultimate path, then you establish he experienced Sugata. Through establishing that, then you can infer that he is the great protector of all sentient beings. So because he is able to protect the sentient beings so precisely, he's the reliable guide. So this is the reverse order of establishing the reliable guide. 1. Now the implicit one is what? Not the reverse, okay, sorry, it's the forward. Forward or the proper sequence. Proper sequence as delineated by, as explained by Acharya Dignaga. Right? This is a proper sequence. Then the reverse order is what Acharya Dignaga did, but Acharya Dharmakirti, he saw that as the implicit understanding. Implicit. What is the reverse? Reverse is that not start from the Prince Siddhartha, but start from seeing, there's a great teacher, being loved by everyone. Like, there's His Holiness the Dalai Lama, everybody loves him, right? People were not initially attracted by Lama Tundu, the young boy, age 2. Not introduced from that boy. Just see His Holiness the Dalai Lama, right? Being loved by everyone. So from there, then you start to read his biography. Then you'll come to know that, initially he was a very young boy, age 2, when he was first identified as the Dalai Lama, 14th Dalai Lama, right? Okay, this is how the second version, which is the reverse order. So for the reverse order, what we see? We see that there's one great teacher known as Buddha Shakyamuni. Okay, so in what way he's great? Question arises. Because the greatness of the teacher is not determined by his miracle power, by his teachings. By his teachings. Say, okay, this is what I usually say. Say today. What is today? November 6th, Friday. What time? Like 7:39. At 7:39, if I started levitating here, tomorrow there's no space here. The whole millions of people will be lying there on the road. For what? For what? No? For blessings. Right? Imagine. I started levitating here, right? And then tomorrow it will be filled. The whole city will be flunked in by people from Delhi and everywhere. What will the people benefit? Imagine. Just tell me. Say, I levitated. You are so surprised, amazed. Right? Even in dream, you may be dreaming of, this guru levitating in the air. But what do you get? What did you get? What do you get out of this person levitating in the air? What? Nothing. Just one thing. What is that? Amazing. Just a feeling of awe. That's it. This will not reduce your hunger. This will not reduce your physical pain, cancer, whatever. It will not reduce anything. Right? Simply a sense of awe is there. And then people simply flung in millions. And this is the ignorance. How people are being misled. How people are suffering samsara. Whereas what can really benefit the beings is by changing the thought process of beings. What made the Buddha Shakyamuni so special? It's because of his teachings, because of his experiences. What made Jesus Christ so special is because of his incredible compassion which he displayed. These are all mental experiences. These are all mental experiences. So, mental experiences is not that, okay, please, Shakti, I need the Shakti, then you get a Shakti from someone else, then you get a mental experience, you become Jesus Christ tomorrow, you get a Buddha tomorrow. No, it's impossible. So, all these mental experiences, they are to be transmitted to you through learning. And the learning, for that to take place, there must be teaching happening. For there, the teaching should exist. So the teaching marks whether the person is really a reliable guide or not a reliable guide. Right? Okay. So now with this, there's such a great teacher there, known as Buddha Shakyamuni. In what way he's so special? And keep in mind that today, everywhere we go, there's no one who would compete with Buddha Shakyamuni today. But in his time, there were so many competitors. So many people, they actually volunteered to go there next to the Buddha and said that I want to compete with you. Right? Saying that you are so famous, but for no reason. In fact, I'm greater than you. There were so many teachers who appeared contemporary to the Buddha Shakyamuni, who came to compete with the Buddha Shakyamuni. Right? Okay. Now, when you see that he's so great, in what way he's great? This question. Because of his teachings, not because he's flying. By flying, he cannot be a reliable guide. Guide means to lead people from misery to happiness. By flying, at the most, you can give a sense of awe. That's it. This sense of awe will not lead the beings from suffering to the happiness. They will remain as miserable as before. Right? So the guide means someone who is able to give teachings so that their thinking change, and because of which they are driven from miseries to the happiness. Because all miseries are rooted to the ignorance. And ignorance, to eliminate that, the wisdom has to be inculcated. And the wisdom has to be taught. This has to be given. So the wisdom must be such a refined wisdom. So what is the wisdom that this Buddha Shakyamuni taught? The wisdom which understands the Four Noble Truths in its subtlest version. Then the question arises, right? Then the people, they listen to the Four Noble Truths, what the Buddha taught. And listening to the Four Noble Truths could see that this is the teaching which never existed before on this earth. How come that he's able to give such a brilliant teaching which did not exist on this earth till now? For example, Albert Einstein came on this earth. Albert Einstein came on this earth. And then he taught the theory of relativity. General theory of relativity and special theory of relativity. He taught this. And today, even BSc physics students, they understand relativity theory. The way and the manner in which the BSc students today, every student understands relativity theory, she also understands it. The way Albert Einstein understands it is very different. Because what the student today understands is the emulation of what Albert Einstein taught. What Albert Einstein experienced is not the emulation, it is his own understanding. It's the understanding which came from himself. Likewise, the Four Noble Truths, the teaching which was so profound, so refined, seeing that it's so refined and seeing that there was no teaching of such kind that existed before, right? How come that this teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, is able to give such brilliant teaching? Because he experienced that. What is that experience? Sugata. He taught the truth of the, what is the first truth? What is the first truth? Truth of the suffering. What is the second truth? To the cause of suffering. What is the third truth? Truth of the cessation of suffering and its causes. That the suffering and its causes is no more there. This is what he taught with great confidence, which was not at all taught by any other teacher before. So unless he experienced that himself, how can he possibly come up with this idea? So this experience of teaching the third truth, the truth of the cessation of suffering and its causes, known as Sugata, is what he taught. For that, he should have experienced himself. So that makes him as a Sugata, right? Okay, how come that he is a Sugata? Is it that he is Sugata since time immemorial, primordially? No, not at all, right? Which means that he learned that first. He learned it. It's the experience at the moment. So, in fact, it was preceded by the learning. Learning of this path. Learning of the path preceded. Okay, this is correct. Then, learning of the path, which means that what? Path which he was meant to teach the sentient beings. Right? He learned this path, which now he experienced as a Sugata, which initially he learned it himself, which was meant to be taught to the sentient beings. So that is the teacher. By seeing him as a Sugata, from there we can infer that he was in search of this path to be taught. Teacher in the form of the path to be taught to the sentient beings. Okay, so from the Sugata we could infer the quality of the teachership. Now, from this teachership, from there we could infer another quality. What made him find this path? What made him actually having found this path? Right? Say, for example, if you are in a very remote area, the village where the same 100 kilometers, square kilometers, 100 square kilometers, which has only 3 families. 100 square kilometer land with only 3 families living there. Do you need red light there? Red light, all these. Do you need that? You don't need that. Why not? Because there is no traffic jam problem. Right? Okay. But then in Delhi, in Bangalore, the red light is everywhere you go, there are red lights. Right? Why do we know that? Why do we need that? And who made them? Who made them? People there in that village, 100 square kilometers, with only 3 families there, these people would not even have an idea of making red lights. There's no need. Right? To have the idea of creating a red light, we need a sense of responsibility. A sense of responsibility. Oh, now look, Bengaluru, right? Okay, earlier, say 100 years ago, no red light. Or say 200 years ago, no red light. Just what? Bullock cart, right? No red light. There's no traffic. People unnecessary fight. Now, with all these red lights, still people fight. No fight in those days, right? And then no one came up with the idea of red light. Then slowly, then coming what? The cars, maybe one simple car, and then traffic jam, then a person or say a leader or whatever. Oh no, this is not good. We must have some kind of control to have the control over the traffic. There should be a smooth traffic. Then the person started thinking, motivated by a sense of responsibility, right? Likewise, this wisdom of emptiness, which is to be taught to the sentient beings, this is such a profound topic. How come that this person was able to find this? What motivated him? What motivated him? Motivated by altruism to help all sentient beings. Motivated by altruism to help all sentient beings be relieved from the miseries and the cause of the miseries. So that motivated him to find this path of the ultimate reality to be taught in the form of being a teacher to all the dear sentient beings. So that inferred what? Altruism, right? From the protecting sentient beings by teaching the Four Noble Truths, you could infer the Sugata. From there we could infer the teacher. From there we could infer the altruism. So because of this process, we could rightly see that this person which has followed through these 4 steps, now in this ripened state, in this fully ripened state, for sure he is the reliable guide. It's not like, say for example, there is a big village, and there's so much of internal problems are there, and then there is a village panchayat, right? And then from America, from a very urban New York, a person is just picked up and appointed as a panchayat. Do you think that is going to be successful? No, he has no experience of the village at all. He can just make the village more chaotic, right? He will impose all the New York rules there, which is totally not at all relevant there, right? Beyond that, he does not know anything of the village. So therefore, only if somebody has, like, say, this person, known as Buddha Shakyamuni, having gone through all these processes, he was a teacher, and he is the protector now, then the Sugata, then the teacher, then they moved by altruism, seeing the miseries of sentient beings. Oh, this person, surely at this stage, is the reliable guide. Whereas someone from New York, suddenly coming from the blue sky, falling in the village, he can't be the reliable guide there in that village, right? So these are the 2 processes: forward process and then reverse process, or the forward sequence and the reverse sequence of establishing that Buddha Shakyamuni is the reliable guide. Okay, so this is a gist. This is a gist of what we are doing here, the Pramāṇavārttika chapter 2. And with that, then so many questions come about. Say one question would be, just to give you an idea, one question would be, say, we're talking about what? Great compassion. Great compassion. Then the issue arises. How can they be great compassion? Because great compassion, for to cultivate great compassion from a beginner stage like our stage, it is not possible that you can have the great compassion within a single lifetime without any practice of that, the former lives. Then for that, to establish the possibility of great compassion, you take for granted they exist several lifetimes. You getting it? How do we know that there are several lifetimes? Then the argument comes out that there is no several lifetimes because great compassion, or the compassion, is a mental experience. Mental experience is the result of the brain, and the brain, when it dies, the mental experience will die. When this light, you just break this bulb, and the light which is being emitted from this bulb will disappear simultaneously. You agree with me or not? You break this bulb, and the light which is being emitted from this will stop. This is the argument brought forth by the opponents, saying that great compassion is not possible because for one to have a great compassion, there must be at least the practice of compassion for several lifetimes, for which you are taking for granted that there are several lifetimes. And for several lifetimes, you are presupposing that there's a mind which travels from one life to the other, independent of the brain. And then they're arguing that how do you know that there's a mind which is different from the brain? The brain dies and the mind continues. How is it possible? Right? In short, the argument is that rebirth is not possible. Without rebirth, There is no meditation on compassion for several lifetimes. Without that, great compassion is not possible. Without greater compassion, the teacher is not possible. Without the teacher, now look, teacher doesn't mean the teacher in conventional sense. Teacher of the wisdom of emptiness, the ultimate power, is not possible. Without that, Sugata is not possible. Without that, the protector is not possible. Without the reliable guide is not possible. So this is how the opponents, they argue against Acharya Dignaga and Acharya Dharmakirti, right? So for that, what is that thing which we need to establish first? Right? To prove that the Buddha Shakyamuni is a reliable guide, we need to prove that he is a protector. For that, we need to prove that he experiences Sugata. For that, we need to prove that he is a teacher. For that, we need to prove that he has the altruism, great compassion. For that, we need to know rebirth is possible. Without rebirth, great compassion is not possible. Because, say, someone who is so vicious in one lifetime, indicating that the person did not practice compassion in the former lifetimes, so vicious, in a single lifetime, it is not possible that the person can have great compassion. If that is the case, then great compassion is not possible. So to say that great compassion is possible, you are taking for granted that the person can possibly practice great compassion for several lifetimes, which means that you are taking for granted that several lifetimes is possible. How do we know that for several lifetimes there should be the rebirth? Without rebirth, if it is just one lifetime, then several lifetimes are not possible. So rebirth should be established. For rebirth, what is necessary to be established? To establish rebirth, what should be established first? That there's a mind which travels from one life to the other. This should be established. To establish that, what should be established? That the mind is different from the brain. Right? So all these issues, they are so precisely, logically proved by Acharya Dharmakirti in this text. It is a little technical. It is there. Okay. With that in mind, don't expect that this is easy text, right? Okay. And then the Four Noble Truths. How many of you have studied the Four Noble Truths? Or how many of you have listened to the teachings on Four Noble Truths from any teacher? How many of you? Just raise your hands. Most of you. Okay. Now, how many of you just listen to the dictates of the teacher? There are Four Noble Truths. Truth of suffering, truth of cause of suffering, truth of cessation of suffering, and the truth of the path leading to the cessation. How many of you listen to the teaching like that? Most of us. In fact, this text is the best text available. The best text available in the Buddhist genre to establish the concept of rebirth and the concept of the Four Noble Truths in a very logical, rational, systematic way. This is the best the text available in the Buddhist genre. So this would be very helpful even to to logically prove. So for example, Vedantic tradition, Mimamsa tradition, Samkhya tradition, Nyaya tradition, they all believe in rebirth except for Charvaka. They're all these Hindu traditions, Jainism, Buddhism, all traditions believe in rebirth. And yet, if a scientist comes, or if someone who is agnostic, or who is hedonist, or who is atheist, right, who's totally non-believer and very brilliant, comes and asks you with a question, how do we know that there's rebirth? This book is going to be such an indispensable book for all the traditions, not only Buddhism. Because without being able to prove the rebirth on the basis of these reasonings, all traditions will fail. All traditions will fail to prove rebirth. Without the rebirth, all traditions will simply crumble or will simply get dismantled. Because rebirth is the foundation of all the traditions except for Charvaka. Charvaka tradition. Vedanta, Nyaya, Mimamsaka, Samkhya, Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism. For all these traditions, the rebirth concept is the ground. And, right, if it is like-minded people who believe in it, there's no problem. Or rebirth because there's a mind there, because there's Atma there, no problem. Only if one encounters with a very scientific bent of mind, with a very open mind, with very intelligent, and who does not take anything on belief, blind belief, when this person starts asking questions, then people will be in problem. So this text will help solve the problem. So this is what explains the Four Noble Truths, the rebirth, and all these concepts in such a rational, logical, by using logic, it established these concepts. Okay, with that in mind, let's read.